Good morning, Harmony and Consolidated. It's Mr. Calvert here again. I hope that you're enjoying your Tuesday. I know it's pretty cold out there and pretty windy. I can hear it blowing on the other side of my house. Today I have a new artist of the day for you, and his name is Ho Suh. So kind of a different name, Ho Suh. And the reason his name is a little bit different than what we're used to hearing is because he is actually from South Korea. And he comes from the capital of South Korea called Seoul, which is right here. Okay, and we are way over here. So when we're sleeping, he's awake and vice versa. So other side of the world. Now Doho So, he is 58 years old and he is a sculptor as well as an installation artist. So when we talk about installation artists, they're kind of like sculptors who make artworks that have to go in a certain place. They can't just move their artwork from place to place. It's meant to go in a certain location. And a lot of times in his work, we see him work with this idea of being an individual versus a group. So, what can we achieve as one person versus what can a whole group of people achieve? So, a lot of times we see that with his work, and we also see a lot. His work deals with being home too, and having moved from South Korea to New York City, and kind of how he's dealt with that issue of moving throughout his life. So here's his first one that I want to talk about. This is a suit of armor that he created. When he made this, he was kind of thinking about like a look of a traditional samurai set of armor that they might wear, and he had created this out of dog tags. Actually, there's an example of them, and kind of how as an individual you wouldn't be much of an army, but when you combine all these individuals, then you kind of make up something much greater than yourself. Here's another one where obviously if it was just one little person under this sheet of glass, how they wouldn't really be able to hold up much. But by making a whole bunch of them, they can help support a whole bunch of weight. Okay, so you can see all these little wax figures that he created, and then people have the option to be able to walk across them. And here's one last one where we're talking about individuals making up something bigger. So from a distance, it doesn't look like much, kind of looks like a tornado actually. But when you see this up close, it's actually a whole bunch of these little wax figurines that have each other sitting on top of each other's shoulders. And when you combine all of them, how they make this really big, intricate work of art. Now, a couple of years ago, I actually had the chance to see Ho Suh in person, got to hear him talk about his work in Madison. And one thing that he was working on at the time was this series of texture rubbings. And what he did was he would go to the places that he lived, so like his apartment in New York City, and would cover the whole entire apartment in a huge sticker. So he'd cover the fridge, he'd cover the door, he'd cover the oven, the cabinets, and then he would take a blue piece of crayon and he would start to make a texture rubbing, kind of like what we've done in class. And when he was done, after he peeled all of that sticker off very carefully, he was left with basically a blueprint of what his apartment looked like. So this is pretty much a big chunk of his kitchen that has been laid flat. You can see the door over here. Whoops. This is the top of the oven right here. You can see the oven coils. You can see cabinets down here and up here. You can see the fridge and the sink. So this is pretty much his apartment that he lived in, and how he was able to take that 3D apartment and create a flattened out blueprinted version of it. Something else that he did that I got to see, and these are my favorites, because he moved from South Korea to America, he's kind of dealt with this issue of not being able to take his home with him. So now he's begun to recreate the places he's lived out of the silk. So this is actually like a see-through silk that we see. And when he makes these, he actually makes them to size. So this building that we see is the actual size of his actual building, which is really crazy to think about how big these works of art are. And because they're made out of silk, they're really, really light. But I just love the detail to them and how intricate they are. You can see this decoration above the window. Okay, even things inside the buildings. So I had the chance to actually go inside them. Here you can see actually the stairwell leading up to his apartment when he was in New York. This is one I got to see, if I remember correctly, when he was in Madison. But you could see part of his kitchen and the bathroom here, and you get to walk through it as well. I love seeing all the details. You can see the handle on the oven over here and the burners. And because it's mesh, you can also see through parts of it. So like the back of the toilet, if you can see that up close, you can actually see like the piping inside the toilet too that he's made out of mesh. So he includes like every little detail, which is really crazy. Oh, here we go. So you can see kind of the stuff inside the toilet too, because it's see-through. So really crazy to think about how much detail went into this and how much time he had to have put in to create this. Okay. And there's one more. There's this thing, nice bright yellow. Sometimes he changes the colors. Okay, even the tag on this, you can see that there's actually some stitched words on it too. And so every little detail, he includes screws and things like that. So really cool. Doho is probably one of my favorite artists, and that I've actually gotten to see his work in person too. And I hope that you guys enjoyed learning about him, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.